Welcome to the 2021-22 Fresno State Agricultural Research Institute Workshop. I'd like to introduce you to your ARI Fresno State campus contacts. With the Jordan College of Agricultural Sciences and Technology, we have Dr. Bill Arisian, the ARI Campus Coordinator, myself, Carrie DeBartoleben, ARI Campus Point Person, and Dr. Dennis Neff, Dean, Jordan College of Agricultural Sciences and Technology. With the Division of Research and Graduate Studies, we have Doug Carey, the Director, Ms. Maral Kizmichian, Grants and Research Administrator assigned to the Jordan College, and Svetlana Bagdazarov, and she's in charge of compliance with research and sponsored programs. With Fresno State Foundation, our post-award analyst is Nathan Zanoni, and he handles everything regarding your project once it's been awarded. If you believe that you'd like to submit an ARI proposal for this ARI proposal cycle, please be sure and email your intent to apply to Bill Arisian with a copy to Maral Kizmichian, as well as your department chair and Carrie DeBartoleben. Your intent to apply should have your name, your college and department, in the subject line ARI 2021-22 intent to apply. State your intention to apply for either an ARI system, campus, or seed grant. Give a brief working title of your proposal, and we do understand that that's subject to change. That's fine if you change it down the line, as well as your research priority and a brief description of your proposal. Once you have submitted an ARI intent to apply, you will be assigned to a research center. The research centers are both your pre-award and post-award partners. With pre-award, they work with the PI to help confirm that you have an adequate budget, as well as help you source project-related match. They are also your liaison for the campus coordinator and the campus point person, and will help you answer basic ARI questions and concerns. As your post-award partners, you'll coordinate with the center DAAs after you're awarded, and they will help you gather your proper match and prepare the proper match verification forms and route them for approval with the proper signatures. We will also schedule your project meeting and prepare the project meeting document, the final budget approval summary. After the project meeting, they will route the final budget approval summary for signatures and send it to the campus point person in order to secure an approval to expend. We will now hear from Maral Kizmichian with the Division of Research and Graduate Studies at Fresno State.
Greetings. This is Maral Kizmichian with the Division of Research and Graduate Studies. In this portion of the presentation, I will be discussing the role of the Office of Research and Sponsor Programs within the ARI submission process. Research and Sponsor Programs Office provides professional assistance to faculty and staff in pursuit of research and contract activities during the pre-award stage of the process. In consultation with you, we will discuss your budgetary needs, identify any special issues or special considerations specific to your project, including the IRB compliance, conflicts of interest, or any other research-related issues. Once we finalize your budget, we will route your PIF and budget via the internal approval and grant launch, and review and approve your ARI submission in the InfoReady portal as one of the reviewers. As Carrie and Bill stated in the previous slides, please utilize the intent to apply instructions provided and submit your intent via email. Once your intent is received, please contact me to set up your consultation meeting by January 8, 2021. In this meeting, we'll be discussing your budget, review all of the required documentation, including your current and pending support documents, and the match requirements and documentation. Once the budget is finalized, I will route the project information form via grant launch by February 7, 2021. We will be discussing your PIF and the budgets in the next few slides. As we're discussing your budgetary needs, I will be asking who, what, when, where, why, and how questions. Who will be working on your projects? How much time and effort you and they are going to need to dedicate to your project? These individuals can include faculty, staff, student assistants, postdocs, consultants, and collaborators. If you have collaborators, we will also discuss your sub-award needs. What you need to accomplish is based on your goals and objectives. You want to set attainable goals. These goals will allow to create a budget that is justifiable and need-based. Based on your goals and objectives, we will discuss your project timeline. ARI system and campus opportunities are capped at 36 months funding support. It is crucial that your goals and objectives can be completed during this time. You will need to identify clearly where the project task will be completed. If you're going to need other facilities, or if the work is going to be completed by collaborators, we will need to highlight this information in our PIF form as well. You want to highlight the broader impacts of your project. Reviewers will look for this information and ask why ARI should be investing in your project. As we discuss your project, we will highlight every detail so all your budgetary needs are itemized and complete. Budget revisions and reallocations are more difficult and complicated during the awarding process. There are 2 budget forms we need to complete for the ARI process. We will start your budget in the internal PIF format. For all personnel costs, we will calculate the correct rates for effort and fringe benefits rate. No indirect costs are allowed per the ARI guidelines. Once this budget is finalized, I will transfer these amounts to your ARI budget template. In both forms, we will need to identify both cash and in-kind match and itemize these costs as well. For the ARI form, we will need to list in detail under the notes section, which is highlighted yellow in here, all materials and supplies, subawards, and equipment. Please remember that I will prepare these forms for you. You should not be submitting any budgets that are not reviewed by our office. This will delay, in some cases stop your submission for the ARI applications. As I mentioned earlier, it is crucial that you submit your intent to apply and start planning for your proposal as soon as possible. We cannot guarantee your proposal will be submitted if you contact our office after January 8th. We normally process 25 to 30 ARI proposals per year and need lead time to review and approve all submissions. If you have a subaward, you will need to also contact the related research program office. There are multiple offices involved in assisting in approving your proposal internally. I will make sure your center administrative coordinators are kept informed of any budgetary needs and changes. Please make sure all documentation is attached to your submission, specific to match. While the match does not need to be guaranteed, all required match documentation needs to be attached. It is important to note that if your proposal is awarded but the match funding cannot be secured, your award will be rescinded. In conclusion, please remember to submit your intent and contact our office right away. Read the guidelines carefully and multiple times. Match requirements are a key component of your proposal. Please start networking and contacting your collaborators for me. My contact information is listed on this slide. Please contact me with any questions and concerns. Thank you.
In this next series of slides, we will now have Nathan Zanoni from Fresno State Foundation Financial Services go through the post-award process with you.
Some of our responsibilities for the foundation relate to setting up the cost center, the accounting in terms of payables and receivables. We do a lot of purchasing and procurement when it comes to the various grants and contracts that are awarded and come through our office. We also review timesheets related to, that come through additional employment, release reimbursement time if you're a faculty member, if you're released on a specific project. We handle monitoring and tracking equipment that is purchased, whether it's an ARI grant or another type of grant in general. So we also, if we have a sub-award within your ARI budget, we have Sheila, who's in our office, and she handles preparing the sub-award. If we're going to partner with another company or higher education institution or university, for example. So these are all services that we provide. Once you receive that letter regarding receiving that ARI award, then the next step obviously has to do with the forms that you fill out, whether that be the cash match form or the in-kind verification form, and most importantly, to do with the letters of support and commitment that go along with the verification forms we need. And so when we're talking about ARI, the match is a critical component and a core component of receiving the ARI funds. When it comes to cash match, for example, there are, as far as the letter of commitment that should be provided, depending on who's providing it. So if the industry partner you're working with is saying, I want to provide $10,000 of cash match towards that ARI award, but they haven't given you the check. However, we would highly recommend they provide this financial commitment letter that we have a sample right here, so we know they're making a commitment, they're pledging these funds, and we have this. So this would be considered pending. Obviously, if the entity, the industry partner, provides you with a check, that would be cash in hand that we would have. But if we don't have that check, then at the very least, the very beginning stage, we're going to need this financial commitment letter provided by them, which should be on their letterhead, and should be spelled out exactly what they're committing to, and that they understand how their funds are going to impact the ARI project. When it comes to the Inkind, which is there is a brand new Inkind letter or template that's come out. This was redesigned and revised so we can get a more detailed breakdown of the type of Inkind that's going to be provided by the industry partner or the company, whoever is going to provide the Inkind match. So typically the Inkind match, since the cash is 25%, the Inkind would be 75%, because again, we need a 100% commitment. And so again, this is an example here of how a letter should be laid out. Now, it doesn't have to be exactly like this, word for word or number for number, but this is a good starting point for you to utilize when you're working with that industry partner, you're reaching out to them, because they're probably saying, well, what do you need? What do you want from me? Well, this is kind of a sample right here. What we're asking in the past, at times, an industry partner would send us a letter for Inkind. It would be, well, I'll commit or pledge $40,000. And again, in the past, sometimes things weren't scrutinized like they are now. And so now we're asking for more of a detailed breakdown so we know exactly what type of Inkind service that's being provided and how much those dollars add up to, and what are the categories, the things they're providing. As you can see from here, lab, technical services, graphic control, instrumentation. So, we would like a concise, clear breakdown that's complete. If you have cash match funds, or if you know another faculty member that may have a project with the California Department of Food and Agriculture, and you're saying, well, my project relates, because remember, there needs to be a direct benefit. There needs to be a direct correlation. If you want to utilize those funds from the California Department of Food and Agriculture, from the California Department of Water Resources, the question is, are you a co-PI? Are you the project coordinator on that other project? You need to keep that in mind. It's not enough just to say, well, I think that project may relate a little bit to my scope of work, or that proposal. Where is the benefit between the two projects? Is it that you're desperate for match and you know those funds are available because you're good friends with that other principal investigator or project director? Or are you really part of that other project? So those are things to keep in mind in terms of the relationship and the benefit between your ARI project and that other specific cash match source of funding. Because sometimes cash match can be tough to find. The things to remember about cash match, especially when the funds have been committed or they've been pledged, you still need to spend down the funds. That's the whole point of the cash match. It's one thing to receive the dollars, and Oreo Agriculture says, here's a check for $20,000, and you set up an account and you deposit those funds, and you're not spending very much of the money. That's going to be an issue, because as you are spending or drawing down the ARI fund, you need to also be spending and drawing on the cash. They go hand in hand. When we have the ARI meeting, when we all meet, we're signing the ARI cash match forms. We're signing the ARI verification form. That's when we have the project meeting with your department administrative coordinator, the project director, Carrie, Bill, and I. We're all through there. We're going over the budget. We're talking about the budget. And so if you have any questions or concerns, that's why we get together and have that meeting before you're allowed to spend money. Because once we have that meeting, then an email will go out by Carrie to everybody involved who was at that meeting, and then you will receive an approval of this expense. So just be clear of that. And again, even if we don't have the meeting until October 1, remember the start date of ARI projects would still be July 1. It always goes back to July 1 to June 30th in terms of how the ARI cycle works, essentially based on the state of California's fiscal year. Another component is the annual assessment that those of you who have worked on ARI or may have not there's an annual assessment that needs to be done. So if it's a 3-year project, the annual assessment needs to be done each year, and it needs to be done typically within 45 days after the June 30th fiscal year. And also, at the very end of your project, ARI requires a final report, and that typically needs to be submitted within 90 days after the project ends. And so, these things are important to complete. I mean, especially, for example, if you have a 3-year project and you haven't done your annual report or annual assessment for year 1, well, then we're not going to move to year 2 until you've completed it.
Hi, everybody. Bill Arisian here. I'm the campus coordinator for ARI here at Fresno State. And this slide gives you a little bit of background on how ARI is funded. Approximately $3.5 million comes from the state general fund every year, which also requires a one-to-one external match from industry and other sources. And of course, that match component is meant to encourage collaboration and support from outside the university. The program's been around for more than 20 years, and traditionally and going forward, ARI really focuses on trying to find solutions to the problems facing California agriculture specifically. And there's a link here where you can go and learn a little bit more about what types of programs have been funded previously. And that's important to look at because you'll get a feel for the types of research that ARI likes to fund, what those research activities are, and some of the outcomes and results of all that work that's been taking place over the last 20 years. This slide gives you a summary of the research priorities within the ARI program. And if you read through the call for proposals, you get a little bit more detail on each of these topics. The thing I want to emphasize is that ARI is placing more and more emphasis on the role of economic impact in these study areas. So I suggest that you keep that in mind as you prepare your proposals. It's becoming more and more of a priority for the people that are looking at these proposals and for the general trend in ARI funded research. There are 3 types of ARI funding, and I'll talk about the first 2 that appear on this slide. System competitive research funding requires a pre-proposal. This year that's due on November 6th. If your pre-proposal is approved, you will be invited to submit a full proposal. The important thing to remember with a full proposal on a system research funding project is that you must have collaboration with either a UC, another CSU campus, or another university. And in particular, industry participation is encouraged. There is a one-to-one match requirement. In the past, the minimum one-to-one match requirement on a system proposal was 50% cash match. That's now been reduced to 25% cash match, which is the same as a campus research funding proposal. For the campus proposal, you do not need a pre-proposal, but your intent to apply forms are required for both proposals.
Our third type of ARI funding is seed grant funding. Seed grant funding is for new Jordan College faculty. Funding available is up to $10,000 per proposal, and it's again for new Jordan College tenure track faculty only. And they are allowed 2 awards in their first 3 years on campus. Collaboration, match, and pre-proposals are not required. However, we do require intent to apply. Please note that Fresno State does not participate in the ARI new investigator funding.
So what do funded ARI proposals all have in common? Well, the first and most important thing is the one-to-one match. Of course, match has to be both cash and in kind being 75% and cash being a minimum of 25%. It is helpful to have letters of support from match organizations when you submit your proposal. You don't need to have your match in hand, but it's important to have that commitment as early on as possible. And there are match templates and letters of support templates from your center admin assistants that can give you an idea of what makes a good match support letter if you don't have one already in mind. And these are good examples. I would encourage you to take a look at those. The other things that all funded proposals have in common is the methodology. It's important that that is sound and straightforward and part of the strength in general of the proposal. The other thing, as I mentioned before, is please make sure that you've given some thought to the evidence of economic impact on the research that you are proposing to undertake. It's become a more and more important issue these days.
This is the cash match donor letter that we provide as a template, as a sample to the PIs to send to their cash match donor, and ask them to use this format when they are providing you with a match support letter. As you can see, it has the company name, their location, and the type of business, and it states that they're working collaboratively with the PI on this proposal. The research that you as the PI is doing is relevant to their business, and that the outcomes will have a benefit to the business or the industry. It also states a guaranteed dollar amount that they will be providing in support of your project. Because in-kind match can sometimes come across in a letter crafted by a donor as being vague or broad, we have come up with an in-kind match template that we ask our donors to use to clearly document the type of in-kind match that they will be providing for your project, and it breaks down the list of services and the cost of those services. Again, we provide this template to you to provide to your in-kind match donor, and strongly urge you to use this template so that we don't have to go back to your donor later on and ask them to please more clearly define what their in-kind match is going to be. We've been using this template for the last 3 years, and it seems to be a very successful tool to use, especially when it comes to audit purposes with the Fresno State Foundation as well as with CSU ARI.
This is our current year campus timeline for ARI proposals, campus, seed, and system. Right now, your ARI Info Ready Review Proposal Center, you should go in there and create your login if you have not already done so. You should be working on or have sent your letter of intent to Bill Arisian. You have already discussed your proposal, or you are in the process of discussing your proposal with the center director, your department chair, grant manager in research and graduate studies, as well as the ARI campus coordinator. You have your match lined up and your letters of support are in the works from your donors, and you're using the templates that we've provided. You are working on the draft of your proposal sections and working on the forms and attachments, and you should have met or should have an appointment to meet with Morale in Research and Sponsored Programs to finalize your budget and PIF. November 9th, 2020 is the system pre-proposal campus deadline, so that there's time to review that before the ARI system pre-proposal deadline on November the 12th. January 8th is the last day to request a budget appointment with Research and Graduate Studies, so that they have time to prepare your budget and your PIF and get it back to you so that you can meet the soft deadline of February 7th, which is a review for revisions and any corrections in the structure and content. If you've been given any requests for revisions, February 15th is the last day to submit those and your changes. And February 17th is the hard campus deadline for all submissions. And this allows us to route for internal approvals on the campus before the February 24th, 21 deadline. Please note that no campus, seed, or system full proposals will be accepted after February 17th, 2021. That is a hard deadline.
This is a timeline that shows what happens after all ARI campus proposals have been received prior to the deadline. A review panel will meet in early April and determine which proposals will be funded for that year. That review panel typically consists of anywhere from 9 to 12 individuals representing not just the Georgia College of Ag, but other colleges on the campus, as well as industry representatives and 1 or 2 representatives from USDA. Conditional award letters go out sometime in late April, early May, and then final award letters go out shortly thereafter. There are 3 dates here that are also important to keep in mind. The July 1st is the project start date for campus ARI programs. And August 30 is an important date because you must have your match verification complete by that date. And finally, September 30th is when you have to have your cash match at the foundation.
Please be sure to watch for our second online workshop coming in mid-November. In this workshop, we will cover how to apply using the CSU ARI InfoReady Proposal Center. We'll go through a complete video walkthrough of ARI InfoReady, as well as a review of the InfoReady proposal system required forms and attachments, and the structure of the ARI proposal narrative. And please be sure to watch for the announcement for our third video that will be coming out in early spring 2021, entitled, You've Been Awarded, Now What? And in that video, we will go through working with your research center to get your cash and in-kind match verified, your project meetings set up, all the way to and through your approval to expend your funds. Once again, thank you for tuning into our video workshop. As always, if you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to email myself, Carrie D. Bartlehaven, or Bill Arisian with any questions that you may have. Thank you.